I think this is the opposite side of the ownership coin, right? When people go out there and they put their heart into it, and they really look like they have some knocks along the way, but they do an excellent job. How do we recognize them for it, and more importantly, how do we show the rest of the organization that these are the kinds of behaviors we value as an
Mm,
organization, right? So it's quite important to find a way of highlighting this to say if these are the things that we really care about, these are the people, these are your colleagues who are actually doing an excellent job uh, in the way that we want to do business. And I agree. As a founder, you're always very focused on the next thing. So you're there, and it's like, okay, next quarter we got to get all this other stuff done. And yeah, we didn't quite finish that. This wasn't exactly the way I envisaged it. It wasn't quite perfect, and so on and so forth. Let's move forward, right? That's always that. Hey, how do we keep moving forward? And I'm as guilty of that as pretty much everyone else I can imagine who's in the scenario. And I think it's over the years that I really sort of started to appreciate the value of that retrospective, so the stop to say, okay, what did we actually learn? What did we achieve? Who was really important in making that a reality? How do we celebrate them? I do a quarterly review every quarter for I think about 6 years at this point in time. So there are a lot of quarterly reviews that we got Zoom recordings for, which is great. And every time I look back at those, I'm always we talk about business performance and strategic direction and all these other things. But the bit that everyone gets really excited about is the last 15 minutes where we actually stop and say, okay, across the business, whichever team you're in, whatever level you're at, let's talk about these people who've done really excellent work over this last quarter. And that is the one part of whether we're doing it virtually like we had to do during COVID, or whether we're doing it largely in person at one of our offices. That's the part that everyone just gets so excited about. Everyone's so engaged with who we're talking about, what they've done. Kudos are flying all over Slack and Zoom chat. It's the bit that everyone's kind of waiting for.
right.
And it's so interesting to see how that little bit of reflection across the organization, celebrating the people, the behaviors, the outcomes that we really value as an organization, how well that is received and how deeply that is anticipated.